Volcano, the Eruption and Healing of Mount St. Helens. Chapter 5. Volcanoes and Life. One day, 100 years from now, a new forest will be growing on the north slope of Mount St. Helens. Everything that lived on the slope before May 18, 1980, will be able to live there again, for the Earth is a planet of life, and volcanoes are part of the Earth. Volcanoes destroy some life when they erupt, but they also help to make life possible. The Earth has many volcanoes. Some are dead or extinct and will never erupt again. Some are active, giving off lava and gases. Many are sleeping or dormant. They are quiet now, but at some time they will erupt again. Some of these volcanoes are on the ocean floor. Others are on land. Most of the land volcanoes circle the Pacific Ocean. They run from South America to Alaska to Japan, Indonesia, and New Zealand. Together, they are known as the Ring of Fire. Nearly all the other land volcanoes are in a belt that runs from Indonesia to the Mediterranean Sea. For many years, this belt and the Ring of Fire were a scientific puzzle. Why were most land volcanoes in these two regions? Today's Earth scientists think they know the answer. It has to do with the movement of the Earth's crust. The crust is a shell of solid rock. We live on the crust, but we do not see much of it. Most of it is covered with soil and ocean. Beneath the crust is a region called the mantle. It is made of rock that is very hot. Rock of the mantle can flow like thick tar. The crust floats on the mantle. Earth scientists used to think that the crust was all one piece, like the shell of an egg. Now they think it is broken into a number of huge slabs, which they call plates. Each plate is made up of rock of the crust and rock of the upper mantle. The plates are in motion, moving a few inches each year. The movement is something like that of the belt in a checkout counter. The belt rises in one place. It moves along, carrying whatever is on top of it. It turns down in another place. As the plates move, they too carry whatever is on top of them, the ocean floor, islands, and whole continents. There are places where plates pull away from each other. Here, molten rock wells up and sometimes volcanoes erupt. Over hundreds of thousands of years, the molten rock has built a ridge. The ridge runs through the Earth's oceans all around the globe, like the seam on a baseball. At this mid-ocean ridge, new material is added to plates that are moving apart. It is like the place where the checkout belt comes up. There are also places where plates collide. Here, one plate turns down, as the belt does, and slides under the other into the mantle. Here, rock melts, magma rises, and volcanoes may erupt. This is what happens all around the rim of the Pacific Ocean. In the Pacific Northwest, a small ocean plate is colliding with the big plate carrying North America. The small plate slides under the big one. Mount St. Helens is part of the Ring of Fire, a circle of active volcanoes that surrounds the Pacific Ocean. The mid-ocean ridge is where plates move apart. Here, molten rock wells up from inside the Earth and is added to the trailing edge of the plates. Where plates collide, one turns down and slides under the other into the mantle. Here, rock melts, magma rises, and the volcanoes may erupt. In the Pacific Northwest, the small one-day fuchsia plate is moving eastward from the mid-ocean ridge. It collides with the big plate carrying North America. The small plate slides under the big one. Here, eruptions have been built the Cascade Range. Mosses and other low-growing plants now cover the slope behind the mountain ash. They will serve as seed beds for other plants as life returns. Here, eruptions have built the Cascade Range. Here, volcanoes, such as Mount St. Helens, still erupt from time to time. A big eruption seems like a disaster to us, especially if lives are lost, but volcanoes also help make the Earth a planet of life. Volcanic eruptions add gases to the atmosphere and water to the oceans. Some Earth scientists think that when the Earth was very young, eruptions may have given our planet its first atmosphere and oceans. Volcanoes are builders of land. Floods of lava have built big chunks of continents, such as the Columbian Plateau in the Pacific Northwest. Volcanoes build some of Earth's mountains and some of its islands. They make places where people, animals, and plants can exist. Volcanoes are also makers of soil. Ash, pumice, and other forms of lava break down in time. They mix with the remains of plants and animals, making a rich soil. The soil nourishes plants, which support many other forms of life. Volcanoes destroy, but they also build. And after each eruption, life does come back, finding small footholds and spreading. Natural scientists knew that life would return to the north side of Mount St. Helens, but they were awed by how quickly it came back, by its ability to survive, by the way it appeared in even the most unlikely places. One group of scientists found insects and seeds on a dome rock. One natural scientist visited the crater after the explosive eruptions stopped. At first he felt he was on another planet. He was standing in a rocky bowl with sides that rose 2,000 feet above his head. Rock falls kept rumbling down them. Clouds of gases and ash rose from vents in the lava dome. Near him was a rock the size of a small house. The rock, which had erupted from inside the mountain, was a new part of the Earth's surface. A greenish patch caught the scientist's eye. He found that algae, simple green plant, were already growing on the rock. He began to walk around it, looking for life. He saw a ladybug with 11 spots, starting to move around as the sun warmed it. He found a wasp laying eggs on the rock. He found flies everywhere. Then he came on a different kind of ladybug, with only 2 spots. He found a moth that was the same color as the rock. Finally, he discovered the little opening in the rock where a bird had spent some time, perhaps an evening. There were its droppings, which contained the remains of insects. All this life, the scientist said in wonder, on just one rock. On the rock he saw many kinds of life, including algae, ladybugs, and flies. That life, like the islands of life and the silver clouds of seeds and insects, was a promise. It was a promise of the time when all St. Helens would once more be a green and pleasant mountain, and home to many, many kinds of animals and plants.